Here we are for the very interesting story. Welcome to my live. Start the story. This is the story of missing child who came home 12 years later. The little girl vanished in broad daylight. Hundreds searched for her. Thousands shared her photo. But 12 years later, when she finally returned home, she said something that made her mother wish she had never come back. It was supposed to be a normal Saturday. Eight-year-old Emma Carter was laughing as she rode her bicycle around the neighborhood. Her mother Sarah watched from the front porch while talking on the phone. Just for a moment, Sarah looked away. Okay. Just 30 seconds. When she looked back, Emma was gone. first, Sarah wasn't worried. Maybe Emma had gone around the corner. Maybe she was visiting a friend. Maybe she was hiding as part of a game. But after 10 minutes, Sarah's heart began to race. After 20 minutes, she was screaming Emma's name through the streets. After an hour, the police arrived. And by midnight, the entire town was searching. But there was one terrifying problem. No one had seen Emma leave. No one had seen anyone take her. It was as if she had simply disappeared into the thin air. And then investigators found something chilling. Emma's bicycle lying beside an empty field. Perfectly upright, not damaged, not abandoned. Almost as if someone had carefully placed it there, and beside it a single red ribbon. A ribbon that did not belong to Emma. The mystery had only begun. The ribbon had no fingerprints, no DNA, no clues, but when detectives discovered who had bought it, the case became even stranger. Police traced the ribbon to a small gift shop several towns away. The owner remembered selling it, but not to a child, not to a woman, to a tall man wearing sunglasses. The surveillance footage was blurry, too blurry to identify him. The lead went nowhere. Days became weeks, weeks became months. Face appeared on television. Search teams combed forest. Divers search rivers. What's that? He was. None of them were right. As years passed, hope slowly faded. The case became cold. Neighbors stopped talking about it. New families moved into town. Life continued except for Sarah. Every birthday, she left a gift in Emma's room. Every Christmas, she wrapped presents for a daughter who wasn't there. Every night, she let a porch light on, waiting, hoping, praying. Then, 12 years later, the phone rang, and everything changed. The young woman walked into a police station and claimed she was Emma Carter, but the strangest part wasn't that she was alive, it was what she looked like. The officer started in disbelief. The woman looked around 20 years old. Exactly the age Emma should have been. She knew Emma's birthday. She knew the names of her childhood pets. She knew details that had never been. DNA testing confirmed it. The impossible is true. Emma Carter had returned. News exploded across the country. The missing child was found. A miracle, a happy ending. At least that's what everyone thought. Because when Sarah finally hugged her daughter again, Emma whispered something strange, very strange. She said, he told me this day would come. Sarah pulled back. He? He? Who? Emma's smile disappeared. And for the first time, fear appeared in her eyes. I can't tell you. For 12 years, Emma refused to tell anyone where she had been.
Did you get it from the restaurant? Bananas in that restaurant? I'm like, why do you got all the bananas? Go ask them for a banana. Watch how they react. They got like 60 bananas down there. What are they doing with them?
For 12 years, Emma refused to tell anyone where she had been. Then one night, she finally broke her silence. It's past. Emma slowly adjusted. I adjusted to life. But she was different. She hated photographs. She refused interviews. Appearance. She never spoke about her appearance. Until one stormy night, Sarah woke up to crying. Emma sat in the kitchen, shaking, terrified. He said, "I'd never skip." Sarah carefully sat beside her. "Ooh." Emma stared into darkness. "The man who raised me." The room went silent. Emma explained everything. A stranger had taken her. Not to hurt her, not to ransom her, to keep her. He lived in a remote cabin far from civilization. He told her family had abandoned her. He changed her name. He raised her as his daughter. 12 years. For 12 years. Then one morning he disappeared. Leaving behind only a note. The note said, "It's time for you to go home." Nothing else, no explanation, no goodbye, no name, just those words. Police launch a massive investigation. But when they reached the cabin, it was empty, completely empty. Had ever lived there except for one thing, a red ribbon. The same kind found beside Emma's bicycle 12 years later. Detectives believe they were finally close to solving the mystery. Instead, they uncovered an even darker secret. Forensic teams searched every inch of the cabin. Hidden beneath loose floorboards, they found photographs. Hundreds of photographs, every single one was of Emma, taken over 12 years. Birthdays, holidays, ordinary days. The kidnapper had documented her entire life. But among the photos was something disturbing. Photos of Sarah, photos of Emma's hometown, photos taken recently. The kidnapper had been watching for years. Even after Emma disappeared. Then investigators journal. Found a journal. And what was written inside the journal made her blood run cold. The entries stopped 5 years earlier. The final sentence read, she still doesn't remember what really happened that day. What did that mean? What wasn't? What wasn't Emma remembering? And why had the kidnapper suddenly vanished? But we're waiting. No one was prepared for them. The secret wasn't hidden in the cabin, it was hidden inside Emma's memory. Therapist working with Emma for months. Slowly forgotten memories began returning. Moments, pieces, moments. Then one day, everything came back. Emma remembered Emma remembered the day she vanished. She remembered following the man willingly because she knew him. She had seen him before. Trusted him. Danger. The man wasn't a stranger. He was a friend of the family. Someone who often visited their house. One Sarah trusted completely. Please search old records. Please search old records. And finally identified him, but there was a problem. The weather is not good. The man had died 6 years earlier. A confirmed death verified. Impossible to dispute. Impossible to dispute. Yet Emma insisted he had raised her until recently. Who had been living in the cabin? Who had released her? And who had been watching the family all those years? The answers remain a mystery. One that may never be solved. But the final twist was still coming. Months after the case closed, a package arrived at Emma's door. Inside was a message that changed everything. No return address, no fingerprints. Inside was a small wooden box. Emma opened it carefully. Inside was a small wooden box. Open it carefully. Emma opened it carefully. Inside was a red ribbon and a photograph, a recent photograph. Taken only days earlier. Showed Emma standing outside her house. Someone was still watching. Then she noticed writing at the back. 4 chilling words. I kept my promise, nothing else. No name, no next. No explanation. No explanation. Police never discovered who sent it. The case remained unsolved. And sometimes, late at night, Emma still check her windows. Because someone out there, someone knows the truth. Someone who has been watching. Ah. Someone who has been watching all along, and maybe they're still watching now. Years later, Emma lived a normal life, but she never forgot Red Ribbon. One evening, while cleaning her attic, she discovered an old envelope hidden inside a wooden box. Inside was a final note. You were never the only child. The note was a list of names. And every single name belonged to a child who had vanished without a trace.
Hum.
The next story was about the boy who disappeared during a school trip. Thirty-two students boarded a bus that morning. 32 students arrived at the museum. But when the bus returned home, only 31 children were on board. Ten-year-old Jason Miller was excited. His class was going on a field trip to a famous natural history museum. His parents waved goodbye as he climbed onto the school bus. No one knew it would be the last time they would see him for years. The trip went smoothly. Teachers counted the students 32, at lunch 32, before leaving 32, or so they thought. When the bus arrived back at school, one teacher did a final head count, 32. Jason was missing. First, everyone assumed he was hiding at a prank. Then panic spread. The museum was locked down. Security footage was reviewed. And what investigators discovered sent chills through everyone. Jason had been seen leaving the museum alone, smiling. If he were following someone he trusted. But the person he appeared to be following was never seen on camera. Three days later, searchers found Jason's backpack in the woods. What was inside made no sense. The backpack contained his lunch, wallet, phone. Everything was untouched. But there was one strange addition, a photograph. The picture showed Jason sleeping in his bedroom. The photo had clearly been taken through his bedroom window. Someone had been watching him long before he disappeared. The discovery terrified his parents, who had taken the photo and why. Exploded nationwide, thousands searched. No trace of Jason was found until 6 months later. Emma discovered something floating in a river. A sealed glass bottle. Inside was a note, written in Jason's handwriting. I'm still here. I'm still here. The note should have been impossible. Jason had vanished half a year earlier, yet the paper looked brand new. Experts confirmed the handwriting was genuine. The ink was fresh. The paper was fresh. Someone had written it recently. Another message appeared and another. Each one surfaced in a different location. Each one carried the same words. I'm still here. Police believed someone was playing a cruel game, but then a fourth message appeared. This one was different. This one was different. It read, "Don't stop looking." Now investigators knew one thing. Jason was alive, or at least he had been recently. But where? A hunter thought he had found the answer. Instead, he discovered an even bigger mystery. Deep in the mountains, a hunter stumbled upon an abandoned cabin. Inside were signs someone had lived there recently. Food, blankets, books, and dozens of drawings. Every drawing was made by a child. Many were signed with the name Jason. Police rushed to the cabin, but whoever had been there was gone. On one wall, investigators found a sentence scratched into the wood. He said nobody would believe me. Who was he? No one knew. But the hunt intensified. Years passed, still no Jason. Eventually, the case went cold. Until 7 years later, the teenage walked into a police station carrying a single photograph. 17-year-old Jason Miller looked exhausted, thin, nervous, but alive. DNA confirmed his identity. His parents burst into tears. The missing child had finally come home. Everyone wanted answers. Where had been he? Who had taken him? Jason refused to speak for weeks. Finally agreed to tell his story, and what he revealed shocked everyone. He said he had never been kidnapped, at least not at first. He claimed a man convinced him to leave voluntarily. The man promised him adventure, promised him freedom, promised him a better life. Believe him. Jason believed him. Decision he regretted almost immediately. A decision he regretted. The man who took Jason wasn't the biggest mystery. The biggest mystery was why he let him go. Jason explained that he lived with a man for years, far from cities, far from roads, far from anyone who could help. Everything changed. One day, everything changed. The man received a phone call. He seemed terrified. For weeks, he barely slept. He constantly looked over his shoulder. Then one night, he woke Jason, leave. Jason thought it was a trick. But the man handed him money, a map, one and directions home. Before Jason left, he asked a question. Why are you helping me? He turned pale and he answered, because they're looking for me now. Who? The man never replied. Police searched for the man immediately. They arrived too late. The cabin was empty. No fingerprints, no DNA, no clues, only one item remained. A photograph. Standing outside the museum on the day he disappeared. But there was something terrifying in the background. A second child. A second child. Police couldn't identify. When investigators enhanced the image, they discovered something chilling. A case from 10 years earlier, a child who had never been found. Suddenly, detectives realized Jason's disappearance wasn't an isolated case. There were others, many others, and the mysterious man wasn't acting alone.
The meat's soft, right?
Jason received an envelope with no return. Months later, Jason received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a recent photograph, the same unidentified child from the museum picture. He wasn't a child anymore, he was not. He was an adult now, alive. On the back of the photo were 6 words. Some of us never came home. Ah. That's the end of the story. Was a girl who the girl who knocked on her own door. 11-year-old Lily Harper vanished on a rainy night. Two years later, she knocked on her parents' front door. The problem was Lily had already been declared dead. The rain poured heavily over the small town on Oak Ridge. Lily Harper had been walking home from her friend's house just 6 blocks away. She never arrived. Immediately called the police. When her parents realized she was missing, they immediately called the police. Search teams flooded the streets. Neighbors joined the hunt. Helicopters scanned nearby forest. But Lily was nowhere to be found. 3 days later, police found her jacket near a riverbank, then her backpack, then a shoe. Evidence pointed to only one conclusion: Lily had likely drowned. Her body was never found, but after a few months of searching, authorities officially presumed her dead. Her family held a funeral. Her bedroom remained untouched, and slowly life moved on until 2 years later at exactly 11:17 p.m. Someone knocked on the front door. When Lily's father opened the door, he nearly collapsed. Standing on the porch was Lily, older, taller, but unmistakably. She was soaked from the rain. Just like the night, she disappeared for several seconds. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. Nobody spoke. Finally, her mother screamed and rushed toward Lily. The girl hugged her tightly. She was warm, real, alive. Police arrived within minutes. Then, testing confirmed it. The impossible had happened. Harper had returned and the town celebrated. News stations called it a miracle, but there was one thing nobody could explain. Lily refused to answer a simple question: where have you been? Then strange things began happening. Every time someone asked, she changed the subject or stayed silent. Then strange things began happening. Every night, Lily woke up screaming the same sentence. At 3:13 a.m. every night without fail. She would bolt upright in bed and shout, "He's coming back." Then she'd start crying. Her parents begged her to explain. She never would. Weeks passed. Then one morning, her mother entered Lily's room and discovered dozens of drawings. Every drawing showed the same thing. A large house deep in the woods. And in every picture, one window was colored completely black as if something terrible lived inside. At the bottom of one drawing, Lily had written, "Don't open the black room." Police became concerned. Psychologists interviewed her. Eventually, Lily agreed to tell the story, and that what she revealed horrified everyone. Lily claimed she had spent 3 years in a place that officially didn't exist. The night she disappeared, a man stopped beside her in a car. He seemed friendly, he knew her name, he knew where she lived. He even knew the names of her parents. Trusting him, Lily go inside, big mistake. Hours later, she arrived at a large house deep in the forest. The man wasn't alone. There were other children there, some younger, some older, all missing, all trapped. The children were forbidden from entering one locked room, the black room. The same room from Lily's drawings. Anyone who asked questions about it disappeared. And never returned. Then one day, Lily gathered enough courage to look inside. What she was. So, change everything. The room contained hundreds of photographs. Covered every wall, thousands of them, pictures of children, missing children, children from missing paper, children from TV reports. Children nobody had seen for years. Some photos were decades old, others were recent. And each photo had a date written underneath. As if someone had been keeping records. Then Lily found something else, a large map. Red pins marked location across the country. Every pin represented a missing child. The man had been collecting them. For years, maybe decades, Lily knew she had to escape, but escaping would be almost impossible. Lily escaped because of a mistake the man made. One winter night, the man became ill. For the first time, he forgot to lock a back door. Lily ran. She ran through snow, through forest, through freezing temperatures for hours. Eventually, a truck driver found her on a remote highway. Terrified and exhausted, she was finally safe. Police immediately searched for the house, but when they arrived, it was gone. Not abandoned, gone. The house had been demolished, only a concrete foundation remained. No photographs, no evidence, no signs that children had ever lived there. Except for one thing. Photograph. Beneath the rubble, a photograph of Lily. Taken the day before she escaped, someone had known she was planning to run. Police believed the nightmare was over. Then they made a discovery that changed the entire case. Investigators identified the owner of the property, a man named Robert Kane, but there was one huge problem. Robert Kane had died 5 years before Lily's escape. Official records confirm it. Death certificate, funeral, burial, everything. According to the records, he could then possibly have been the man who held her captive. Yet Lily immediately recognized his photo. That's him. The case became a mystery no one could solve. Who was the man? Why was he using a dead man's identity? And where were the other children? Police never found answers. The case remained unsolved, but the story doesn't end there. Ten years later, Lily was helping investigators review old missing child cases. While examining a file, she froze. Inside was a photograph of a missing boy from 20 years earlier. Standing behind him was the same man who had taken her. He hadn't aged at all, not even a little. On the back of a photograph, investigators found a handwritten note: "The house is still waiting." And beneath, okay. And beneath it were coordinates leading deep into an untouched forest, a forest nobody had searched. A forest where dozens of children were believed to have vanished. That's the end part of Lily's story. The next story was The Boy Who Called Home 10 years later. The phone rang at 2:14 in the morning. The voice on the other end belonged to a child who had disappeared 10 years earlier. For 10 years, the disappearance of Ryan Walker haunted the town of Black Creek. Ryan was only 7 years old when he vanished. One moment he was playing hide and seek with friends at a neighborhood barbecue. The next moment he was gone. No screams, no witnesses, no clues. Hundreds of volunteers searched for him. Police followed thousands of leads. Nothing. Eventually the case went cold. Ryan's parents never stopped hoping. Even birthday they lit a candle. Every Christmas they left a gift beneath the tree. And every night they wondered the same thing. What happened to Ryan? Then 10 years later, the phone rang. Ryan's mother answered. For several seconds, she heard only breathing. Then a voice whispered, "Mom!" The phone slipped from her hand. Because she recognized the voice instantly, it was Ryan. The call lasted only 23 seconds, but it changed everything. Police trailed the call. The signal came from a payphone nearly 300 miles away. Detectives rushed to the location, but they arrived too late. Laura's gone. Color was gone. Security cameras captured a hooded teenager standing at the phone. The footage was blurry. But investigators noticed something strange. The teenager appeared frightened. Constantly looking over his shoulder as if someone was watching him. Then another clue surfaced. Near the payphone, officers discovered a small notebook. Inside was a drawing. A drawing Ryan used to make as a child, a lighthouse standing on a cliff, and beneath it were four words: "He knows I called." The drawing led investigators to a place nobody expected. There was only one lighthouse matching Ryan's salad sketches. An abandoned lighthouse on a remote stretch of coastline. Police searched the area. Inside, they found signs that someone had been living there. Blankets, dozens of photographs, photograph of Ryan. From childhood to adolescence. One had documented his life for years, but there was something even more disturbing. In nearly every photo, another person appeared in the background. Never clearly visible, always watching, always nearby. Police nicknamed him the Shadow Man. But who was he, and where was Ryan? 2 months after the phone call, a teenager appeared in a hospital emergency room. He was dehydrated, exhausted, terrified. The teenager refused to give his name for hours. He sat silently, then a nurse showed him a news report about missing child case. Burst into tears. "I'm Ryan." Then testing confirmed it. The missing child had been found alive. The missing child had been found alive. The reunion shocked the nation. His parents couldn't believe it. After 10 years, their son was finally home. But Ryan carried a secret he had been too afraid to tell until now. Claim and claim he had spent most of the last decade in a place hidden from the world. According According to Ryan, he had been taken to a remote cabin deep into the mountains. The man who took him never revealed his real name. He simply called himself Uncle. In chains, he wasn't kept in a cage. Instead, the man convinced him that the outside world was dangerous. That his parents had abandoned him, that nobody was searching for him. For years, Ryan believed it. Till one day, he discovered in his paper the front page contained his own photograph. Boy is still not found. Ryan realized he had been lied to, and that's when he started planning his escape. Ryan escaped during a storm that nearly killed him. One night, a violent thunderstorm hit the mountains, trees crashed down, power lines snapped, the cabin lost electricity. The man left to investigate the damage. Ryan seized his chance. He ran for hours. Through rain, through mud, through darkness, he nearly froze. But eventually, he reached a road. A passing truck driver stopped. To safety. And Ryan finally made it to safety. Police immediately launched a massive manhunt. They were determined to find the man responsible, but when officers arrived at the cabin, it was empty. The man had vanished again. Turn a missing child case into something much bigger. Floorboards was locked metal box inside were files. 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 Sense of files. Each contained photographs of missing children. Names, dates, locations, some cases stretched back 30 years. Ryan wasn't the only victim. He's just the only one who had escaped. Then detectives found a final document, a handwritten list. Of 23 names, 22 of them belonged to children who were still missing. The third name was Ryan Walker, but beside Ryan's name was a single word. Returned. Search the country. The shadow man was never found. No arrests were made. No explanation were given. The mystery unsolved. 5 years after Ryan returned home, he received a package with no sender. The photograph taken only days earlier, the picture showed Ryan walking one out of a grocery store. Someone had been watching him. On the back were 6 handwritten words. You were never meant to escape. I immediately called the police. But when detective examined the photo, they noticed something even more frightening. Reflected in the store window behind Ryan's stood a man. A man whose face matched a sketch from a missing child case that was over 40 years old. A man who should have been dead. And a man who had never been identified. Let's eat dinner.
Is your kid ready to explore a world built just for them? The Lingo Kids app has over 3,000 songs, shows, and games, all